Welcome to Chapter 2, Creating and Transforming Objects. In this chapter, we will learn how to create objects and the different ways of moving them around the 3D space. First, let us discuss selecting objects. To select an object, right-click on it. To deselect it, press A on your keyboard. Pressing A on your keyboard either deselects a current selection or selects everything if nothing is selected. To select multiple objects, right-click to select an object, and then Shift plus right-click the next succeeding objects you wish to select. Pressing B activates the box selection. This allows you to left-click and drag a box around objects to select them. If you click and drag the middle mouse button, the box will deselect the objects. Now let's talk about the 3D cursor. The 3D cursor is the small crosshair in the middle of the grid. Its primary role is to tell Blender where new objects will appear. Left-click on the 3D space to reposition it. Press Shift plus C to reset it to the center. Now, on to object creation. There are 3 ways you can create an object in Blender. 1. Go to the menu bar, Add, and choose from the list. 2. In the 3D view, press Shift plus A and choose from the list. This is basically a shortcut of the first method. And 3. Press the spacebar anywhere on the screen and type in Add, followed by the name of the object you need. Let us create a cylinder mesh. After creating a cylinder, new options will appear on the tool shelf. This is called an operator. Here, you can adjust the basic parameters of the newly created object, such as its number of vertices, radius, etc. Remember to do all the necessary adjustments all in one go, because once you deselect the object, you can no longer go back to that operator. Next, we'll discuss transforming an object. By default, objects will have a translate manipulator. You can select the type of manipulator through these buttons. This button represents the translate manipulator. This, the rotate manipulator. And this, the scale manipulator. You can also show or hide manipulators by clicking this button. Click on the translate button. Clicking and dragging on an arrow of the translate manipulator will move that object in the respective axis. Clicking and dragging inside the small circle of the translate manipulator allows you to move the object freely. If you press and hold Shift and then click and drag, you will move the object in the other 2 axes. Holding Shift while moving an object will slow down the process so you can have a more precise movement. Holding Control while moving an object will snap it according to the current snap settings. The snap settings can be accessed by clicking this button. By default, it is set to increments, which means it will snap to the grid. The other options allow you to snap an object to another object's vertex, edge, face, or volume. All these concepts can be applied to the rotate manipulator, as well as the scale manipulator. You can also have more than one manipulator active at the same time. To do this, simply Shift plus click on the other manipulator button you need. Another way of transforming objects is by using the Properties panel and going to the Object tab. Here, you'll have a Transform submenu, which has several values for location, rotation, and scale. You can adjust these values by clicking and typing in a new value or by clicking and dragging on it. You can access the same Transform submenu in the 3D View's Properties bar that you can toggle with the shortcut N. Now, let us understand transform orientations. Click on the Rotate manipulator. Then, let's give our cylinder a bit of a rotation value just to offset it a bit. If we go back to the Translate manipulator, notice that it doesn't follow the object's new angle. This is because, by default, all transform tools follow global orientation. This means that it follows the coordinate system of the 3D world. Now, there are situations where you need to transform an object according to its own coordinates. To do this, click on the Transform Orientation button and select Local. Notice that the Transform manipulator now follows the angle of our object. This is also applicable to both the Rotate and Scale manipulators. The shortcut for the transform orientation is Alt plus Spacebar. Let us go back to the global orientation for now. Next, we'll discuss the keyboard shortcuts of the transform tools. It is recommended that you rely on using these shortcuts because you will be transforming objects most of the time, and relying on mouse clicks can be tedious. Let us hide the manipulator for now by clicking this button. The keyboard shortcut for translating an object is G. We can call this grabbing. Right-clicking while the transform is active will cancel the process. The shortcut for rotation is R. And the shortcut for scaling is S. This is easy enough to remember since the shortcut is basically the first letter of the function. Press G to grab the object. Now we can move the object to just one axis by pressing on the keyboard the corresponding letter of each axis while grabbing. So pressing X constrains the movement to just the X axis. Pressing Y constrains it to the Y axis, and Z constrains it to the Z axis. Try this concept to both the rotate and scale shortcuts. One thing you have probably noticed when using the transform shortcuts is that it doesn't display the manipulators. If you're coming from Maya or 3ds Max, this can use a little getting used to. However, we can do a little tweak to remedy this. What we're going to do basically is assign shortcuts for Blender's transform manipulator buttons. To do this, we'll go to the User Preferences. Then navigate to Input tab, 3D View, 3D View Global. Scroll down until you see the Add New button. Click it 3 times to add 3 new blank functions. This will represent the shortcuts we will make for the Translate, Rotate, and Scale. Collapse the first one and replace the word None with view3d.enable_manipulator and then press Enter. 3 new checkboxes should appear below. Tick the Translate checkbox. Now we will add the shortcut command for it. Click on the bar with an A. It will then say press a key. Let's assign the number 1 for it. Then we'll add a modifier. Click on the blank bar on the far right and press Escape. The shortcut for our Translate manipulator is now Escape plus 1. Do the same process to the remaining blank functions. Tick the Rotate checkbox and assign Escape plus 2 for it. Tick the Scale checkbox and assign Escape plus 3 for it. Click on Save as Default so we can test our new shortcuts. Our shortcuts for the Translate, Rotate, and Scale manipulators are now Escape plus 1, Escape plus 2, and Escape plus 3 respectively. This is the end of the second chapter. Thank you and see you next time!